Welcome to Dear Alice, a lifestyle approach to interior design.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dear Alice. We have a really fantastic set of episodes for you.
Oh, man.
This is episode 1.
This is a series.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be on Wallpaper. And we started working and crafting this episode when we were like, holy mother of Troy. We have so many ideas and thoughts and things to unpack about wallpapers that we better break this up into murals and patterns and textures and do a 3-part series on wallpaper to really fully cover the breadth and depth that we believe wallpaper is in interior design. So those of you that have been wanting to get into it, or if you've been doing it, you're just going to love swimming in the sea with us, because we're going to be sharing our favorite resources, including some conversational bits that Sue just had with our favorite wallpaper installer and some of his thoughts, tips, and tricks to do this. And just any successes. Also, in illustrating wallpaper, we are going to be sharing projects that show the different types of papers to help you illustrate this. So if you can, I would also watch this podcast, because it is going to be a cornucopia of images.
Like in my car, I mean, you do it how you want. I have like my phone mounted and I don't watch it as I'm driving, obviously. But if there's like something I want to look, I'm like, okay. And then I just like, you know, just like a quick glance. And I'm like, there, okay, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun. So anyway, wallpaper. What I want to say, this topic came up. We have a listener question, but also I was listening to a podcast just this week and they had an interior designer on. I will not say who. And the host was saying, oh my gosh, wallpaper is back. And she was like, oh, I know. I've just seen it like popping off for the last 2 or 3 years. And I was like, hold up. I don't think wallpaper ever left the building.
It never went away, y'all.
Ever since we've been in business, which is 16 years, we've been wallpapering our projects. At the very least, a powder bath or an office or a scene like a dining room.
Yeah.
And so we just want to unpack that a little bit. I'll bet you guys have been seeing wallpaper a lot longer than the last 2 or 3 years. But Sue, you had a little note from history from our wallpaper installer.
Yeah, I have big opinions about this. And then he just, I think, just like drove the nail into the coffin. Because, again, in school, in Europe, wherever you're, like, his history proves that wallpaper's been around forever. Even like the Gracies, the DeGornis, all those things are replicating history. And so wallpaper's always been around. I think here out in the Wild Wild West, we felt it like with borders and things like that so heavily in the 80s that we thought that that was like, it's coming to the scene, and then it left the building. But good wallpaper's always been in. I just want to say that first and foremost. And then when I was talking to our favorite installer last night, he said something that like broke my brain. He said wall covering was around before paint.
That's crazy.
Whoa. Say that one more time.
Wall coverings, wall treatments, they were around before paint. They were the first thing to come onto the scene.
Wild.
Because they used to put, and actually they used to like cover their walls like in hides, you know, like from animal and things. They would cover your walls in that. And then like as woven textures and fabric started to come onto the scenes, they would start to like have these scenes, you know, think Gracie, think DeGorny, in, you know, these like ancient buildings.
Upholstered
walls, actual fabric. So it was leather, then it was fabric scenes, and then, you know, then paint comes along. And now when we see wall coverings with Gracie, DeGorny, all these hand painted things, they're replicating what was a woven textile applied to walls historically.
Wild.
Isn't that so cool?
It's crazy.
So cool.
Like, yeah.
I wonder if we can find like dates going back to that. That would be,
Another research paper.
We do have a previous episode where we did have Jennifer Gracie on the podcast, and that could be a really fun one to listen to after this, because she does talk about the history, how long it's been in her family for generations, and it's really steeped in so much brilliance. So that'd be a fun one for you to listen to as well.
But even in school, like I never learned that before I talked to Matthew.
Yeah.
So I was just I'm really excited about today's topic, because now we get to kind of go into all these different ones that we love. So.
Yes, definitely. So today's topic is going to be not just wallpaper, but specifically we're going to talk about murals today. Next week, we are going to talk about patterns. And then the week after that, we're going to talk about the textures. So those are going to be your grass cloths and some of those Philip Jeffries. You've seen people do veneers and fish scale patterns and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we've decided to break it up. But today, murals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think we all just like, we love being in a scene.
Yes.
I'm like, that's honestly like, feel like in every project we have, we're putting some type of scene somewhere in the house because everybody wants to escape, right?
Yeah.
So I think for a little host chat, I have a question for you all.
Yes.
If you could put yourself in any scene, wallpaper, any room in your house, like what would that scene be?
Well, I remember a decade ago, I was watching $1 Million Decorators, and I don't know if you guys have seen this show. It just barely had a resurgence on Netflix this year. I saw it pop up again, and it was funny watching it back because things, of course, have changed since then. But Jeffrey Allen Marks is one of the interior designers on the show, and at the time he is coupled with who's a cutie. He's on his own now and has a line through CB2. Ross.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so handsome. So Ross and Jeffrey are a couple, and in their house in Malibu, their kitchen is wallpapered in Degorney, and it's this school of fish. And it's kind of silvery, and the fish are kind of iridescent. I'm not doing it justice. Guys, I could not get this wallpaper out of my mind. It's when I think about $1 Million Decorators from a decade ago, I see that kitchen and I see that wallpaper, and I'm like, if only I lived somewhere where a wall of fish made sense in my house. It's so funny too. We were talking, I actually do not like swimming. I'm not one that needs to jump in a body of water. I'm a fire sign.
Yeah.
I like to get warm. I like to lay out. I don't want to submerge my head in a pool. I don't know why. I love this fish wallpaper. It like emotionally moves me. I want it.
That's your type of water.
I know.
Yeah.
That is my type of water. That is the
Kind of
scene.
fish.
That's the
Not
scene
even smelly.
in my head.
I love it.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah. How about you?
Mine's kind of in that same vein a little bit. Like I'm fine with water. I like water. It has to be like perfect conditions though.
Yeah.
It has to be like super warm. But a couple weeks ago, my family and I went down to Southern California, Orange County area, and we just stayed like a week at the beach. And so we were across the street from it. So whatever beachy scene that could be like 75-degree weather and just kind of put me back. I've just been in that like mindset for the last couple of weeks and like daydreaming about it because it was literally the most magical.
So
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really was. And I don't know. I just love, I've never even been like, I'm super into Southern California. I've always got the allure, but then like this last trip, I was like, I need a couple palm trees and in my life. Like, this is amazing. Yeah.
Corey's buying stock now.
For real.
I know. Every time they
Amazing.
talk about, they're like, "Oh yeah, California, you don't want to live there," and I'm like, actually, every time I go down there, I'm like, I could live here.
No
again.
lie. I was like
Like-
sitting on the beach and I'm like, I guess this is what your tax money goes to paying because you can just come to this whenever you would like to. And I was like,
know.
that's a kind of a fair trade.
trade-off.
Yeah.
It's our mountains, right?
Yes, exactly. Which I
Yeah.
take for granted. And I was like, if I lived in Southern California, I'd probably just take that for granted too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The beach.
Yeah.
It is. So
Yeah.
it is what it
It
is.
is.
So that would be the scene that I immersed myself in.
Okay,
I don't know if that'd be a bedroom or I don't know, but something. Yeah.
I dig it. That's very cool.
What
How
about
about
you,
you,
Sue?
Sue?
I went back and forth on this, and I have a couple of visuals. When we lived in the attic, like we'd look out the window and there would just be treetops. And so I always loved this idea of
Guys,
being
if you're
in-
just tuning in, Suzanne
know,
Hall
welcome.
lived in an attic above her mother's home, and it was the most idyllic, perfect little place. And she did a full remodel on this out of the love of her heart because she didn't own it, but it is the cutest little spot.
Smart investing.
And so she had this massive balcony out the front, but your bed was in that room. When you'd wake up, you would see treetops because
Yeah.
you were in the attic. Okay,
Yeah.
carry on.
So everyone knows I love green. So
Uh-huh.
favorite color. So being around treetops is just like my favorite. And so my primary bath that we just did was green. And so in my bedroom, I would be probably like surrounded by some type of foliage, some trees to just feel like I'm waking up in some like exotic jungle. This is like one of my favorite from Degorney. We were just at a showroom that reps them, and I'm like, send me that chip because I want this in my life someday. It's just that rich green. There are peacocks floating around, but it's just so beautiful. And like every single time, here's another one. I look at these like full saturated green scenes. I'm like, that's what I want to wake up in.
So sick.
So just saturated in a vat of green leaves.
You couldn't
I
have a
know.
bad day if you woke up
I
like that.
couldn't.
Also, I think you would sleep really well in sort of a deeper in a deeper scene like that. Yeah.
Remember, I feel nothing in neutrals.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Why the hell did I paint my bedroom a neutral color?
Well, it's not too late, and you're married to somebody that can paint for you.
It's true.
So you could rectify that in a minute.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I love that.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So, anyway, so think about that for yourself. If you were to be in any scene, what would that be? And that's your hunt to figure out what is your wallpaper soulmate.
Yes.
I think that's a really good exercise.
When it comes to murals. And I will say murals, in our opinion, is the biggest thing right now in wallpaper, depending on what your style is. There's definitely like the little ditzy patterns in English decorating and all of that. So that's for next week's podcast. But I would say in the projects that we're all doing right now, it's the full scale mural that is getting all the rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just feel like a life-size
You feel the
patron
most
to the
yes.
scene, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And we'll get into it. But
Yes.
anyway, that's why we wanted to start there, is because we're feeling that the most in the work that we're doing.
Before we
Okay.
jump into that, I'll
Yeah.
get to the listener question and then we'll just go dive
Okay.
into the body.
Love. Okay.
let's do it.
Krista wrote, you mentioned several times not to do an accent wall for wallpaper.
Agreed.
Truly, there must be more. Brands of paper, how to mix patterns, which rooms in addition to powder baths, how to choose the accent paint color, etc. Please. So
This is for you,
this
Krista.
these three episodes were kind of derived off of this, right?
Yeah. Thanks for writing in,
Buckle up.
Krista.
No.
Yes.
No,
And if you
I
guys
love
have
that.
a podcast idea for us, please send them to Dear Alice at alicelanehome.com. And hopefully we'll be able to turn your answer into a podcast and answer it with all the gusto in all of our hearts. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think let's start by going through in the murals. Again, this is part one of a 3-series podcast. And so again, we're going to be talking about murals. And I think the first one that we think of when we think of mural, an idyllic situation, is the hand-painted ones.
Yes.
We think of Gracie Wallpapers. We think of DeGorney. We say those two names quite a bit. And both of these companies, these are all hand-painted, very desirable, it's very much an investment for, small pockets of your home. And so we have a few examples here that Jess is going to throw up.
Yeah.
And
Well, actually, first one, let's do, this is a project on our portfolio. It's called St. John's, and this just got published actually in Arc Digest Poland just a few weeks ago, and we're super excited about it. So this is a full-scale floor-to-ceiling mural, and it's a silver grass cloth with a white scene on it. So very neutral, comes off contemporary, but still organic. But because of the silver and the white, it's crisp, it's lovely. And with Gracie, you can make customizations to it. You can obviously give them your wall height, so any ceiling height. And then for this client, she wanted to customize and get her children's initials on a different bird or butterfly, just so that it's meaningful. So her kids' initials are on those kind of like
birds.
Easter
That's so
eggs
cool.
in the room. Yeah, you have to really look for them to find them. And I just think it's the most chic space. So when you think about murals, I wanted to start with this one because I'm sure you all have something in your mind, but I wanted to also say this, you can also achieve a contemporary look with a mural. So that's that project.
Yeah.
Another one that I feel like we probably are most known for is this scene. Do you want to tell me about this, Sue?
So this is in Rachel Parcells' primary bedroom. And this is the first time that we had used Gracie was on this project. And so that was a really fun experience just because you realized how like the customization and what that whole process looks like. If you're looking at doing something like this, like it's a very like measured calculation on how to achieve this look. Like you find the image that you like. And she really wanted to just kind of be in this whole blue environment, and have these organic lines. And so we found this paper, and from there, there's no repeated panels in this whole story. And so they help you lay out. They have the room layout. They have the height of your baseboard. They have the height of the crown so that they can get like a perfect scene from like line to line on what that looks like. And they send you proofs and drawings to approve, and they send you samples so you can actually see it in the space, which is really lovely. It's the very most custom experience that you'll have. And you're talking with Jennifer Gracie on a lot of these just to make sure, that it is perfect.
Are you choosing like Pantone colors and everything, or?
They'll usually send out like a chip card with all the different colors that you can kind of pick from and be like, I like this field color a little bit
And
better.
the chips are hand painted. Because once you sign off on it, then they send it over and it's all hand painted and it takes months.
And most of them I've seen, the field color isn't just like a solid color. It has depth to that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
I'm glad that you said that, because I was talking to the installer that we use a lot. He's a preferred installer for Gracie and DeGorney. He works a lot with Jennifer. And so for this type of installation, you want to make sure you're talking with someone that's one of their preferred installers.
Yeah.
Before you do any of this, because even the way that you hang it, like this type of paper, is very, very important. Like it has to be like straight edge table cut. Some people will try and like install stuff vertically, but then like if you have any paste that like gets on the wallpaper and you have to dab that with water, that takes away the paint. So it's a very careful installation. So we just want to start with like the most costly, the most
I think
biggest investment. But
I'm sure that there's like the big elephant in all the listeners' heads right now. Like, so what is this going to cost? Because if we're talking about hand painting all these individual panels in an entire scene or room, especially the size of like Rachel's bedroom, which, to give you guys context, this is a room that has two like living room groupings, two sitting rooms in the bedroom besides the 4-poster bed. So it was a large room. And I think that something like that, of course, this was probably 6 years ago, was probably $50,000 at retail for a room like that. We've done dining rooms that are a little bit smaller that are around $30,000. A powder bath, this of course isn't like right now, but probably a few years ago would have been about $10,000 to paper a room in hand painted. Gracie, I think DeGorney scales right there, neck and neck with it. So just to give you an idea, if this is sort of in your range, if you want to do something special, and if you're like, what would that even cost? Because you kind of have to go, I would think you'd have to go down the road of working with a designer to be able to access this sort of a thing. And it's quite specialized, and you want to work with an installer to get the measurements and to really go through the painstaking process of going through with getting a paper like this. Yeah. So this is like playing chess if you're doing.
It is the calculus of wallpapers.
It is, 100%. Yeah. It's a little bit more advanced, but the look is extraordinary. If we've ever happened on it in a home, most people honor it and they do not take it down. They don't paper over it. It is like a gold standard, and it's going to stay in the house like forever, for decades. Really lovely. This is another image. This is from Rachel Parcells' daughter's bedroom, where they also did Gracie paper. Really beautiful, sweet scene. Both of these rooms are just feminine and floral, and the color is just so spectacular.
Yeah, and I do feel timeless. Like I don't think you'd ever tire of these. No. Like I think she's young in this picture, but I think as you grow up, I think this is very much a scene that you could grow well with. Right.
Definitely. And what I wanted to say is, I guess it will be in the next one. In answering the listener's question, she also wanted to know, how do they choose the accent paint color to go with it? Yeah. So in the case of Gracie paper, we would put our paint deck down on that sample from Gracie to choose the exact shade of blue to paint the moldings if you wanted that color to continue, if you were doing moldings with it. In the case of Rachel's, she has white moldings, but she also has white floral trees in this scene. So that looked really great. And then in Isla Rose's bedroom, she has a white field. So we did white crown and base in this room.
Okay. Yeah. Just while we're talking about that really fast, about like just the kind of the prep work too for this. Another thing that Matthew told me last night, and talking about installing DeGorney and what their preferences is on this, is that for any wallpaper, you're going to want a level 5 smooth. Like if you're just talking wall prepping, what is that texture when you're talking to your builder, you're doing a remodel and floating something. But a lot of them, they want you to do like a liner behind, or he called it a blank stock. DeGorney like really recommends you do a blank stock and you run it horizontally, so it's perpendicular to the vertical panels. So anyway, there's a lot of like background. It's just not a paper that you're like throwing up there. There's a lot of like layers that if you're going to do this much of an investment, to make sure that like that homework is all accounted for before you get it up on the walls. So I thought that was really interesting, that not only like are you smoothing out your walls, but you're also, he's like, if there is a light texture, for sure you're going to want to put a liner on that. And DeGorney really likes you to do the blanks
Blank stock.
So do you put a liner, even if it's texture 5? Texture 5, by the way, is it goes from 0 to 5, and that's like how smooth your texture is on your walls. 5 being the smoothest, 0 being the roughest. But yeah, do you put a liner on even if it is texture 5, or texture 5 or liner if it's anything other than texture 5?
I think if it's anything other than that,
Like if it's a 4.
Yeah.
if it's a 4, but he said even DeGorny, even like with any, they still like that blank stock. I keep saying it wrong. Yeah, blank stock paper run perpendicular to the vertical.
That's great.
Which is super interesting.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So if you are not in the Gracie Paper DeGorny camp, it's okay, because a lot of people have caught on and they are doing murals, and you can get a similar look. It's not hand painted. This is printed, but one of the favorites amongst our firm is Schumacher.
Yeah, I think Schumacher does a beautiful job. We did this office here in North Utah County. Anyway, and it's so pretty. It's still that same type of scene. It feels very hand painted, but it's a digital print. But I think the colors are all feel very reminiscent of something that's hand painted. I think one thing to note that we recently just found out is that with Schumacher, you can change a scene slightly. They're still going to go through all those, again, making sure you know which panels you're signing off on to create this whole scene. But we had a client recently in Florida that like, we loved the field color. We loved the sample. There were just some like chickens at the bottom of the scene. And she's like, I don't know if I really want the chickens in my dining room. Can we take those out? And so we reached out, and you can customize it. It's just an upcharge. It's like a 25% upcharge. So you can still get some customizations that they'll digitally output. So you can get the scene that you want. So, which is really, really cool.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah.
As far as like the height and stuff, you don't have as much control as you would with a hand painted, because they're painting that specifically for your room.
Yeah.
But still an awesome option for that look, especially like when you're dealing with these other options that we're going to talk about for more standard size ceilings, 9 foot, 10 foot, etc.
Yeah.
So anyway, Schumacher is a great line. And they have a few different, Ixel, I think is how I pronounce it. Anyway, a few different ones within the Schumacher umbrella that have really great murals and scenes.
Ixil, spell it for the people out there, because this is one that I've been seeing popping off a lot. And I think they're doing a good job, and it's pretty whimsical.
It's great.
So spell it.
Yeah. Ixel. Ixel. Yeah. Yeah. And it's different. There's another line called Eskyel, Eskayel, which is also a really cool wallpaper line too. That's very hand painted. But for the murals, I think Ixel does a really great job under Schumacher.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, yeah. Just want to
now,
say that out loud.
Sorry, just to make sure we're still answering Krista's question. In this scene from Schumacher, we did a painted case and base and ceiling in a color.
Yes.
Do you want to tell Krista, how did you achieve this?
Yeah, I think in this, if we wanted to feel some type of saturation and a contrast, and you'll notice that in a lot of our work, that we're not picking necessarily the same exact field color, but something to kind of pop off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we took one of the little floral colors, and kind of like, it feels like some of the branching and things. It was just such a beautiful color. It was her space too, and she wanted it to feel feminine, so bringing in some of those pinks in a very neutral pink way, I think is how we landed here. And so again, you're really just going to take your paint deck. Once you find your paper, then you're going to take your paint deck, because there's a million different colors you could go with, and you're going to see what lands, and you're going to order paint samples of those. I remember we tested out several different ones, and this was the winner, so which was really beautiful.
Are you, when you're choosing that, like a color, maybe that's not necessarily the field color and it is, more saturated, is it like you're trying to find what the vibe is for, like that feels more, I don't know, a little bit more cozy, a little bit like you feel the ceiling, like, above you a little bit. Are you like, we don't want it to be like bright white and open, but
I will say I miss it when it's not painted. Whenever I see like a powder or some type of opinionated wall, whether it be in the same field color or whether it be something that's contrasting with it to kind of like just complement, I feel like it was forgotten. I crave it. Yeah. I crave that lid just so it feels paid attention to, and it gives the respect to the wallpaper that it deserves.
I also feel like as I look back at past projects when we didn't do it, I was like, why did we not address the ceiling? Yeah. When it's just white, it just
know
is
better,
like,
do better. I don't know.
Yeah,
we
sure.
Probably felt it once, and we're just like, I feel better. I feel different.
It feels complete.
It does. And it just doesn't look like primer.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Because even if it was like on a light field, I still want it to be something.
Yeah. You would still like use 10 or 20% of the field color of the paper.
Yeah.
Just so it feels complete.
Yeah. There was one that we did, and I think we're going to show a picture of it, where it's that, let's see, it's the black and white mural. And even though, and it's a light, I just want to show like, because it's a light field color right here. Mm-hmm. I think this is like beautiful. You still have like, this is such a beautiful line. This one is from Designers Guild, and it's more of a black and white. Again, a little bit not modern, but if you are like a neutral mural lover, like this is something like this feels sketchy and perfect. But when I was in this space, because we went darker on the trim and we didn't put it on the ceiling, I'm like, when I was in that scene, I wanted the ceiling to just be not as dark of a blue as this, but one of these lighter blues that's in that bird's feather. And so that's still something that the client and I are talking about, because I'm like, it would just be so beautiful to fill that like a lighter blue overhead. Mm-hmm. And I just think it would complete the scene, and you'd feel like that little hat box, around you. And I'm like, that's the only thing that's missing in this. Client knows about it, so I've been fully aware. But anyway, I just think that that's really important. I'm glad that, Krista, that you asked that, and how to pick out the right trim color and what to do with the ceiling, because I think it completes the scene. Yeah.
And I feel like Krista would want to know, would you keep the ceiling textured the way the builder left it, or would you smooth the ceiling before painting? That's what I think too.
I would smooth it. Yeah.
Smooth. So it'd be a smooth and painted ceiling, a lighter shade of on the same color deck strip of the blue.
I would like, there's this like little peak of like this kind of like lighter sky blue right there. I'm like, that should be on the ceiling. I don't want it to be a dark blue. I want it to be kind of talking. Ceiling. I want it to be smooth. Honestly, I'd probably like take it satin. I wouldn't take it flat. Yeah. And I would take it into a lighter blue. Just, I think the color blocking and combination of it, like not everything has to be that one blue color. Mm-hmm. I think it's more interesting when you can step it. I think that's a way cooler, more artistic way to do it.
Agreed. Yeah. Speaking of finished ceilings, we have another mural for you. This is from Scalamandre.
You guys.
They do fantastic murals.
Where are we at like price points for this? Sorry to cut you off, but I'm just like, okay, I'm not Krista in the 30,000. Yeah. Like, but where are we at on this?
We're high. I will say, like, when I was in school, Scalamandre was like top shelf. Like, this was even before I was like familiar with Gracie and DeGorny, but Scalamandre in fabrics and wall coverings, like it's like English traditional, like it's been around forever and ever. The script of it like looks expensive. Like you just look at the brand, you're just like, that's going to cost me a lot of money.
That's the King's. That's the King's paper.
That's the King's paper. Yeah. Anyway, so Scalamandre holds a very, very a high price point. So I think you're probably not far from Gracie and
folks,
DeGorny,
we're looking at a living room. This was recently installed here in Utah, actually, and we haven't got professional images back yet from this house. This was just with Suzanne's cell phone, but this scene it's a mural of trees. The wall color is a really stunning shade of green, and then we've painted the ceiling a darker shade of green. So that's what we're looking at right now. And so you're estimating this living room. Gracie paper would maybe be, $40,000, $30,000 in this room. You think Scalamandre is around 20
to 30.
20 to 30. Yeah. Is this hand painted?
So high, I think,
or printed?
That I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. I can't remember. I think it is printed, but it feels so original that it feels hand painted when you touch it. So anyway,
it's maybe completed by the fairies, by the fairies' wings
in the land of
Scalamandre.
Yeah. But I think the reason why this possibly could be hand painted, or at least they're customizing it, is because the ceiling is so tall. I want to say like from the floor to like where that pitch starts, you're probably like 11 feet. Like it's a double story ceiling.
Yeah.
And then you go up to like an even higher pitch at the gable. But it's just so dreamy. I will say that this is a client whose husband did not want anything to do with wallpaper. And after we like put this in, he's just like, I get it. He's just like, and everything feels more finished with wallpaper, in these critical scenes.
Yeah.
He's just like, let's do more of it. Like he's totally bought in. But because it is such a tall ceiling was the reason why we needed to go darker on the ceiling, especially so if you want any room to feel cozy and you leave the ceiling white, you're going to feel lost.
Yeah.
You want to put a lid on it.
Yeah. So. I also think this room would not feel as expensive or as serious. There's like a real mood to this room and nothing's been forgotten. And look at that chandelier just popping off because it is against that dark paint.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Cause like,
and you get 20 times the credit
yeah.
for the chandelier because it's on this stunning dark background.
And I will say that when people are looking at crystal or these transparent like glasses, Murano, anything like that, if it's just against a white ceiling, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Like we're doing another big one in Florida, and we were looking at all these like glass things. I'm just like, you're not going to get any credit for that because it's just going to disappear at that volume and being as transparent as it is. Like we need to go to a smoked glass, or if you're going to keep your ceilings white, you need to go more contrasting on your light so you can actually see it, or you paint your ceiling darker.
Yeah. Totally.
So that's but yeah, like trim wise, everything, we had the sample of the wallpaper and then we picked the color from there, Krista, to get the right shade of deep green.
Yeah. And you wrapped this around the entire room. It's not just on one wall. Also, to answer your question, Krista, is, we're in all of these cases, we've never wallpapered one wall.
No, you look like you ran out of paper or the other panels were damaged in shipping.
There you have it.
So
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Suzanne Hall. Okay, speaking of SKL, this is another
Ixel.
Sorry,
SKL is a different one.
Ixel.
Guys, sorry, it's very confusing even for us.
I know.
There's so many lines.
Yeah, so we have 2 examples for you here. This is another way to get a mural. This is not as expensive as Gracie, Scalamandre, or DeGorny. Where are we at in the price point of?
This is a line of Schumacher, so you're probably still in that like for that powder room. This was and this is a great place to put it in. These are just like the little potty closets. This is the potty closet of the primary bathroom. And she was probably like 10 to 15, 10, 12. I don't know, for like the scene.
Yeah. Worth it.
It's so great, you guys. It's so, so beautiful.
Tell the people that are just listening, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at this like harbor scene. So again, you see like all the natural greens and like the variants of blues in the water and these like little sailboats just like floating by. And it's so peaceful. And this client was very like, there wasn't ever anything that was loud, but anything that was, all the details in her house were very natural. And I think that this, like, again, they're colors, but they're neutral because it's what we see out the window.
Yeah.
When we look out the window into that gorgeous harbor scene.
I love that.
I know.
Here's another one from the same brand.
Yeah. And this is a black and white of just kind of these palms. Same home actually as that last one. This is in her formal powder. And again, it's neutral, but it's interesting. And so you go in here and it's encompassing, like the trees are, 5 scale. And
is the ground on this grass, or is this on just paper? Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be on grass.
It does.
Yeah.
I know.
It's really pretty. Full height.
Yep. Yeah. Full height from baseboard.
So do you want to tell them again how they spell this line?
Yeah.
Another way to get murals at about half the price of Gracie.
IKSEL. So and there's colorful options, muted options, black and white options. They do a really, really great job.
Let's get into Gucci.
Okay.
So this is a dining room that we did. And we did a chair rail with paneling down below. And so
it was existing. So this was a remodel. So they had this like wainscoting. And so, but we wanted to still have a scene. And so that, I know that like if we were doing a Gracie, they would customize like from that height of the chair rail to the ceiling, and we could get some type of scene. But in trying to do something for less money, we looked at different panels and like what would be the least offensive, like, because you have to chop off the legs.
Yeah.
If it's a pre-printed digital, So
or do
Gucci
they make like half length murals?
Scenes?
No, well, not half, but yeah, like they condense the scene into a, you know what I mean? Like 2/3 the length of, or the height of a wall.
Maybe some companies, but Gucci doesn't.
Okay.
So what you get is what you get. But and it's lovely. They don't send you samples either, so you kind of have to just get a roll and play with it. So which is fun.
Tell them on Gucci price point wise, where are we at?
We were actually, and I'm going back to 2018. We did the Gucci cranes for Tiger Oak, and that was less expensive than a Kelly Wearstler wallpaper, is what I remember. So I bet you we were like closer to like the 8,000. So like under 10.
Yeah.
But it was actually less expensive than like Kelly Wearstler, who's distributed through like a crowd, type of thing. And so, which is like fairly available to get like through a designer, even like online, right? I think we've all seen the graffito from Kelly Wearstler. Anyway, this was Gucci. I was so shocked that it was less expensive to do than Kelly. And you did your powder in a Gucci also. How much did that cost? How much did that put you back?
It was, I don't know if the crane is the same cost per roll, but it's $150 a roll. And then shipping from Europe was like, I don't know, all 4 rolls I had to buy were $100. So I was $700 in materials and probably another $1,000 to hang it, another $800 maybe or something. Yeah.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah. So it was like 2,000-ish.
Yeah. So if you want to get the look, Gucci's a really good place to start.
I was shocked
so far,
it was
Gucci
that.
is our starting price point. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gucci Heron, really quick, should we show them the other colorway?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you ready? Were you going to say something about
Tiger
Tiger Oak?
one, not necessarily Tiger Oak, but just about just like panels. When you're ordering panels,
Yes.
When I was talking to our installer last night, I'm like, what is our rule in like ordering extra? Because you always have waste.
Yes.
You're going to have waste in any scenario. And so it's not necessarily, especially with the mural, you're not looking at a square footage. And square footage, actually, he's like, throw that out the window and all you're thinking, because it doesn't work because you're looking at the space. You have to study the space for what you're building. And if you have, you know, a 5-6 panel, you know, that you can't just order an extra panel because say panel number 2 gets damaged in shipping and you have an extra panel number 6, or like it doesn't equate. And so it takes a little bit more math.
You're buying art.
You're buying art.
Yeah.
And so it's very methodical. So don't try and do this on your own. I would consult with a professional.
Paper hanger.
Paper hanger. Otherwise you will, I think, probably be eating some. Like you'll either not order enough and then run out, and then you're going to get a different colorway if you try and order after the fact, because you want to order everything up front and you want to order the amount of like scenes that you need, and then just like be very delicate with that, because or you're going to order 2 of them and then you're going to send the other, you know, back, or just hold on to it, honestly, in case anything ever happens to the wallpaper. There's a flood.
And there's dye lots, and these are all printed in the same dye lot. So bathrooms are a really nice place to spring a leak in plumbing, and let's
talk about it.
So I think this stuff is solid gold, and I would keep it in a special place, and I would not send it back.
Yeah, and at that price point, like I would order.
Yeah.
See what is
the Heron one, since it is a mural, I just looked, it's $500 a roll. Still not bad though.
No. Okay, so let's talk about the Heron. So this is a project in Washington, D.C.
Yes, we're so excited. And this is actually going to be published in Utah Sound Design this fall. So that's why it's not on our portfolio yet. But this is their little tiny powder room off the entry. And she loved the Gucci cranes. And then we showed her the green. She's just like, yes, I want to do it in the green. And we were so excited because who doesn't love the green cranes? They're actually herons. They're not cranes. It's the heron print. And I just love the scene. Like the green field of it's so beautiful. And instead of going with a green, like ceiling or trim, we actually took a little different approach, and we did something that would complement it. And that pink, you see it like within some of the wing spots, and then on the actual heron's face, there's just like some blushy moments, and the pink just looks so beautiful.
It was so just such soft.
a love. It's so soft, and I think just like it's just the perfect balance of like masculine and feminine energy in this space. And the whole ceiling's pink, and so again we had kind of this, I can't remember if it was lucite or crystal actual chandelier in here. It was like more of a semi-flush, and you see it because of the dark ceiling. And it's a hidden door to even get into this space. So you open it up and you're like, you feel like you just like entered the secret garden of herons. It's so magical. And that color is just everything, because you're coming from a very classical black and white, you know, entry into this. And you're in the nation's capital, which feels very postured. And then you see this. And it's just like, that is the power of a mural, of being completely transported. Still, I feel like it's on theme with the colors, the black and whites and things that you're going to see throughout the rest of the house. But it is it transports you to a different land, which is why the mural is so magical.
Totally. You just go in here and do your pregnancy breathing and have and recover from your problem, whatever it is.
Hide from your children and eat your dessert.
Yes.
Honestly.
So brilliant.
I would stay for a second there.
Love that space so much. Okay, so back to this Gucci mural. This one, again, had the paneling on the bottom, and it's a garden scene. And we pulled the trim color back to Chris's question.
Yeah.
We threw a paint deck at the one panel that we purchased. And then we also came up with the ceiling color. Do you want to tell her about that?
Yep. And this was all on kind of the same paint strip. So a lot of times we will do that. I think that's a great, you know, if you're trying to do kind of a two-tone thing, like I talked about with that bird wing on the other powder, you kind of look at that same paint strip and see what is the lightest color from the darkest color. And then I know that those two are going to speak well to each other in a space. So proof positive. Here it is. This is like the darkest color, maybe the second to darkest color actually, that we did for all the trim and that whole base wainscoting, just to give it some weight, which I think was really, positive. And then we did it on the actual crown and the window casings. And then we just took like a lighter, just like a more clay colored for that ceiling. And I think it turned out beautiful. And then we actually took that same paint color, and this was a lighting fixture that we could customize the paint color. So we were able to really kind of feel that color drench and being in a space, which is really fun because the actual mural is a light field. And so we could have very easily stayed white on everything, but I don't think it'd be nearly as impactful.
Definitely not.
Love this so much.
Are there rooms you stay away from with wallpaper? Maybe kitchen or like bath with a shower in it or something like
Yeah, I think that rooms that are ideal for murals, since we're talking about murals today, we love a dining room, like we just showed you. We love the main powder bath. I think you get a lot of credit for it. That is for the guests, and it's usually main level. I think a bedroom, like we showed you with Rachel's, a primary bedroom is a really great space, in a living room. Yeah. Maybe an office if it's something you're going to really spend some time in, or like a music room or something like that. It's like the more elevated rooms of the home for the mural.
Kind of your tuckaways.
I think so.
And we're not doing a lot of public spaces in them. Like they're definitely like, it's for a mood. It's for like a definite, a dedicated,
like scene. You want it to wrap itself around you. You're going to spend time.
Of the room is dedicated for a certain thing. And so I think the wallpaper can speak to that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Last one we want to just do a shout out to. If you are more contemporary and you're not really a scene kind of a person, this is a brand, Portatelio, that we have just loved for years. And we recently did a project that is going to be published soon in the fall here. And this is hand-painted murals. In what state are they doing this in? I thought it was California, but it's not. Is it New Jersey?
And like, I think it's somewhere, it's not international. Like
it's in the US. Yeah. Okay. These are all hand-painted panels.
New Jersey.
And they anyway, Porter is Porter and then space Teleo, Teleo. This is a fantastic hand-painted resource. It's not going to be as expensive as Gracie and DeGorney. You can still customize it. This is a powder bath that we did in Dallas. And this is kind of after that Japanese technique in pottery. If something breaks, that you backfill it in gold. And so that's kind of the feel here in this bathroom.
This was fun because they also will customize. They have colors that they come in, but she had seen it already in some of those colors. And so she's like, I want to make this a little bit more special. So you do have customization that you can do on this, which is what we did here to make it more of like kind of this sea kelp color. I think is a good descriptor for that. And but it's so beautiful.
Speak to the ceiling color and the trim color. You can see it here.
Oh my gosh, yes. When I was in the space, like after it was all done, I'm like, gosh, we nailed it on that color. It's just a little bit deeper because again, in all these hand painted ones, you're going to have variants. You're going to have like some deeper pools and some lighter pools, and we want to go to the deepest. And so again, we looked at like what was in that same color family, and we found the deepest, and then we made it glossy. Pretty sure we went gloss on the trim, and it's the contrast of the like hand painted paper to the trim being in the gloss is so fantastic.
I have to say, of all the powder baths I've experienced in the last 5 years, this is my favorite we've done. This is like, you feel so much in this space, and it's so editorial and it's so interesting, and it doesn't feel like anything I've ever experienced.
I would agree.
Extraordinary. Yeah. It's so beautiful.
No, even at the end of the day when we were installing, like the client was standing over here by the vanity. I was hanging out over on the toilet. The other designer was sitting on the floor. We ended in this space.
When you were on the toilet, was the toilet seat down and were you just sitting on it?
Yeah, I was perched. So it was down.
It's more of hanging out.
I know. It's just more of a hangout. There wasn't a chair. So maybe like we could put another chair. We did have a little ottoman in here that we tucked underneath the vanity.
I love that.
But also say, toilet or not, like, you just wanted to be in here, like and in whatever corner you could fit yourself in, like you'd figure out how to like hang out there for a second. And this was right off his office, and he wanted to make sure that when his clients came, to meet with him or whatever, that this would be an experience. And this is where we landed, and I could not be more happy about it.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. One thing I want to say, just like with the installation, I'm going to go to a less romantic portion of the installation that we talked to the installer about last night, is that we noticed that he, especially on seams, like where there'd be seams, or even if it's like overall just for safety, especially with a dark wall covering, he takes a paint color that's the same filled color close to, and he paints the whole room that color.
So smart.
It's really, really smart, because not every wallpaper is created equally. Mm-hmm. Some people, like on a less expensive digital one that you might find online, they're going to have like a 5/8" like little overlap of white that you're going to try and trim. But when it's digitally printed, you're going to see a white core to that paper. And so it's going to be important for that field color to be the same. And then you're going to want to keep like a little brush if you're meticulous. And he will often just like take that and he'll paint the core
of the paper,
of that cut.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really good advice for everybody. Like, if anything, at least like when those two meet up, you have a dark color that's sitting behind there for safekeeping.
Especially if it's a mural, you don't want a white line breaking your mural.
No,
that would suck.
It would be so sad.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
somewhere
that
out there
was
it's
something to
happened
pay
before,
forward. I thought that was super smart.
Oh, that's so great. Well, you guys, I hope that this has been helpful. I know it was a lot to unpack, and you can see why we need to take wallpaper in 3 episodes, but I think it's worth really getting it right. The right installer, having him come and measure for it, working with the right brand that's in the right budget to get the look that you want. Again, we feel like these are really everlasting, awesome design principles, is to use these gorgeous murals and scenes. And I don't think that you'll ever regret it.
Oh, I'm like 10 years later, you're still dreaming of the fish. And like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
And like, I keep these like little tap cards because I'm like, I dream about it.
Yeah.
Like I want to live with it someday.
It is the thing of dreams.
It is. And yeah. I think it's just,
Yeah, it's worth getting right. Well, you guys join us next week as we continue this conversation about wallpaper. We hope it's been helpful in knowing more about murals. If you love the podcast, leave us a 5-star rating. Corey, will you give more information about how to leave a review? Because Suzanne's mom really
we say it,
grandma, guys.
Provo grandma wants to leave us a review, but she doesn't know how to. So can you walk her through it real quick?
Definitely. We've said this all the time. It didn't even dawn on me. Like when you guys talk, I was like, yeah, we should probably explain how to do it.
She told me that. She's like, I'm trying to figure out how to leave you guys a review because
this goes for
really good.
This goes for you too, Mom. I know you're listening.
That's awesome. Apple Podcasts has a place for you to review it. So you can't go to the episode page. You have to go to the show page. So if you're on the episode page and you're kind of viewing it on your phone or on your computer, there'll be like, I think it's in the top right, it'll say go to show, and then that'll take you to the show page. And if you just scroll down to where there are reviews, like where you could read reviews, at the very top of that, there's a little like purple icon that says write a review. And then that'll give you a chance to, give us a rating, write a review. So it's really easy. It's just, I think you just have to get to the right page. Yeah. So go to the show page. Amazing. About halfway down. There's a little link for it. Yeah.
We read all of them.
We do.
We really do. Like, we love hearing what you guys are thinking. So
yeah, thank you for taking the time to do that. It helps our show. It helps us be able to get seen. And it's like the gas in our tank.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We keep going.
I mean, we start a lot of meetings with like a review and stuff like that. So it's great. It definitely gives us juice. So
definitely. And if you guys are interested in wallpaper, we are going to upload all of the wallpapers that we talked about today that we can and are still available to purchase to our website. So you can purchase these here. And if you want help working with the designer to be able to work on a space, we have the home furnishing design service, which is a free service, and they can help you with the wallpapers that we sell on our site. And also, they can help you with all of the wallpapers in our library, which are above and beyond what we talked about today.
And finding the right color trim to go with it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Want a friend, use our home furnishings.
Definitely. And if you're interested in a whole home project, a remodel, or a build, Alice Lane Interior Design would love to help you with that. So there's a tab for design services, and then you can request whichever team that you want to work with, depending on your project. Thanks again so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star rating.